everyone. We are delighted to do a presentation on Zephyr RTOS project, which is a Linux Foundation-based project. Uh, Before we begin, I would like to describe the agenda for today's presentation. We are going to give a brief overview of Zephyr, which is further followed by an understanding of its features, which the kernel provides. After this, we are going to look at the scheduling algorithms that it offers. We are also going to look at the device driver models, tracing and debugging of the threads. And finally, we're going to do a short demo. Zephyr OS is based on a smaller sized kernel and it is designed for use on resource constrained devices for simple embedded sensors and LED variables, uh, going to from that to sophisticated embedded controllers and even for IoT wireless applications. Zephyr started as a proprietary OS, which was then later made completely open source, and now it's under the Linux Foundation. Zephyr OS community provides a variety of third-party modules and libraries. It is the Zephyr project is an association of SDK tools and developmental environments, and it provides features like device management and boot loading. Zephyr is committed towards security process that helps to build more secure softwares while adhering to the global security requirements. The set structure is modular and flexible, and it implements stack overflow protection and thread isolation with thread level memory protection on the architecture. It also allows many system resources to be defined at compile time, and this reduces code size and increases performance for resource limited systems. As you can see, it supports a variety of architectures and boards, and even for embedded shields. Some of them include ARM-based boards like Arduino, STM32, or even RISC boards, emulation boards for 32 and 64 bits, and also provides boards like Intel x86 emulation boards. Moving on to the architecture of Zephyr, consists of three main layers: the kernel layer, OS services, and application services. uh, the kernel comes at the inner level section, and there is an architecture stage that can run different instruction sets. With the help of drivers, there is a low level connectivity to directly or indirectly work with the hardware, along with the functionality of power management. Moving on to the OS services, it is as platform specific drivers for SOCs and the APIs for that purpose. Uh, it also includes functions like device management, debugging file systems, networking, and other properties. Finally, we have application services that includes higher level APIs and data formats like JSON, for example. Uh, this operating system has a flexible kernel and it provides many device driver supports for symmetric and asymmetric processing. Uh, the configurable nature of this kernel allows you to incorporate only those features needed by application, which is ideal for systems with limited amounts of memory. It has a large collection of primitives for data synchronization and data parsing. It provides multi-threading and scheduling options, which we shall discuss in the later sections. It includes POSIX-P threads with the compatible API support. The subsystem provided for power management is designed in such a way that it is SOC and architecture independent, because it is done for the sake of flexibility and power savings. The layer beneath this is the platform section where the kernel and its drivers interfaces with the hardware more closely. Uh, as we can see in the picture, we have a state machine for the thread's life cycle. A new thread is said to be in the ready state if there is nothing to prevent from running, and there could be many reasons for the thread to not start. For example, that it is either terminated or suspended, or some other thread hasn't released is a semaphore which it wants to acquire. If the thread is currently running, it can be interrupted, where it is stored in the back of a ready queue and will wait for to finish in the IO operations. After that, it is ready to run again. The kernel can abort a thread if a fatal error occurs. So they can also be suspended, after which it cannot execute anything until another thread calls a resume function to remove its interruption. Uh, there are two types of threads in Zephyr kernel: cooperative and preemptible threads. Cooperative threads are the ones that cannot be preempted. It has a negative priority value. Once it becomes a current thread, a cooperative thread remains until it performs an action that makes it unready. Similarly, preemptible threads have a positive priority level, and it can be preempted at any time if a cooperative or a preemptible or even a higher priority thread becomes ready. With the help of scheduling policies, the kernel is able to manage the usage of common resources by threads. It has a upper hand over the status of the current thread based on whether a preemption occurs or an interrupt is raised. So the kernel offers a priority-based scheduling, for example, earliest deadline first. So when the scheduler chooses the current thread, selects the one which has the higher priority. If there are so many threads with the same priority, the kernel chooses the one that has waited for the most amount of time. It can also employ time slicing techniques, and for the ready queue, the kernel has a different type of ready queue queuing strategies. In cooperative slicing, if the threads take a lot of time, the kernel will ensure that other threads, uh, this thread takes a break and gives back the CPU resources for other threads which are present in the ready queue. So in this way, the tasks are executed in a round robin fashion. Whereas in preemptive time slicing, kernel can check the preemptibility and handle situation if the thread consumes a lot of time. Finally, we have synchronization primitives, which the Zephyr provides. For example, it has polling APIs where it is used to wait concurrently for any of the multiple conditions it has to fulfill. We also have semaphore and mutexes uh, for the traditional counting semaphores and for traditional reentrant mutexes. We also have condition variables that enables thread to wait until a particular condition occurs. And finally, we have support for multiprocessing synchronization mechanisms for multiple physical CPUs running the Zephyr application code. And I finally handle over to Saurav.
Thank you, Rohan. So now let's explore how Zephyr interacts with the hardware on which it works. It does that by using device tree. Device tree is a data structure that describes each hardware component. So it might be a sensor or it might be an actual GPIO that can be described in the device tree. So what happens is that during the compile time, the device tree is compiled into a C header that the user applications can interact with. And the developer can then interact with any hardware by calling the appropriate macro, and that macro gives back a device structure on which the user can then operate. The device driver model of Zephyr supports multiple instances and is highly modular. As we can see from the diagram given here, there are implementation section, the instances and the APIs. The APIs are then used by the application layer to interact with the device driver. There are 4 default device driver already implemented, namely interrupt controller, timer, serial communication controller, and entropy controller. These 4, along with any new user added device driver model, fit into the kernel space, and they provide a abstraction layer for the hardware to work on. Let's move on to debugging. Zephyr widely supports various debugging environments and tools such as the SAM boot assistant, the JLink, the OpenOCD, and also the PyOCD. It also has support for a thread analyzer that can track the thread information such as the stack size uses and other runtime thread statistics. Furthermore, it also has support for offline debugging through the use of code dumps where we can analyze registers and memory content. And also it provides support for GDB remote serial protocol where we can live debug our code by just a couple of commands. Now we provide a very short demo wherein we show a very simple program to blink 2 LEDs that are synchronized, and for each LED there is a thread created. So as a part of this demo, we'll show how the various kernel services work, and then we will also show the process of building and flashing the code into the actual hardware. So let's move on. Let's start the quick demo. So in this demo, we will use a STM based board that has Zephyr support to showcase a few workings of how the kernel services of Zephyr. So if you see, there are 2 LEDs here, and we will create 2 threads and assign each LED to one of the thread. Then we will synchronize the both threads and to show how synchronization can be done. And then also we will use this built-in button to show the interrupt handling. So let's jump right into it. So if you can see, to build the code, we have a very simple wrapper specified by Zephyr known as West. So what we will do, we will give West build, and then we give the board name. Then that will build the code. So if you see, the code is now built. For flashing, it is even simpler. The same West command, and then we can simply give West flash. So now if you see, the flashing is ongoing in the board and our program is online. If you see, if I press the button, the blinking starts, and when I press the button again, the blinking will stop. So this is how it works. So this is also connected through the serial, and we can see the serial output also here. So if I give the serial output connected, so if you see it is connected, and when I press the button, it says button pressed and release. So I have given the same print. So yes, so button pressed. So now let's quickly jump into the code to see what is actually happening here. So this is a course, if you see, we are creating the two threads here. This is a k thread defined. This is a static way of creating thread, but it can also be a dynamic way that can be done by something similar to the POSIX thread. We have our interrupt handler here that is configured through the given APIs. We are also using a mutex and a conditional variable to synchronize the both threads. So these are the thread functions. So this is all for our demo. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.